Hey, my name is Mitch and this is Made by Mitch. I recently put a video out about how I made a pedal board, and so today I wanted to show you a little bit more detail of how I did the electronics of this pedal board. Let's check it out. So I got all the parts and all the electronics from West Coast Pedalboard for this build, and on their website they have instructions on some of the different parts and how to install those, and so I used those as a guide to install the electronics, and I wanted to show you in this video how I did that. The first thing I had to do was mark where all the parts would go on the pedal board. There is a template on West Coast's website. I'll link down below on all the parts that I got for this build, but I just marked where all the pieces would go, and then I could drill the holes out. I made sure to get them as even as possible with each other, putting them right in the center for these parts, and then for the power supply part you saw me marking first, I made sure it was at the back because I'd be putting a switch on the top of the pedal board, and I wanted to make sure that my cables would all reach. To drill out the holes for the audio jack, I used a 7/8 inch Forstner bit on each side where I marked them. You can countersink the hole if you choose to. I chose not to on this, but you can if you want. The next thing I had to do was drill out the hole for the power supply. So the first thing I did was I used a 3/4 inch Forstner bit and I drilled out most of the material, and then I went in with the jigsaw and I cut the rest of it out. Now I just kind of made my marks here based on tracing out the power supply, but there is a template available online like I mentioned before, but this way ended up working really well for me. It did take me a couple different tries to make sure everything fit properly, but I just went slow and took my time. I'd rather make it too small and then make it, I can make small adjustments rather than making it too large at first. So it took some back and forth, but I finally got to the perfect size for this power supply. Once I got everything to fit properly, then I could drill small pilot holes where I would screw in this power supply to the side of the pedal board. Next, we're moving on to the top of the pedal board. And on the top of the pedal board, I'm installing a small toggle switch and an LED lamp. Now to do this, the first thing I did was mark where they would go, spacing them out the correct distance apart, and this is all preference. And then I could go in and use a Forstner bit to drill the holes. Now these holes are two different sizes. So for the toggle switch, I'm using a 1/2 inch Forstner bit, and then for the LED light, I'm using 11/16. Now I didn't have an 11/16 Forstner bit, so I had to use what I had, and then I went in with the router like I'm doing right here to make the hole a little bit larger until it fit perfectly. And then after I did that, I went to the back side of the pedal board and I took out a lot of the material with a router just to make room for the nuts to fit on the other side of the pedal board. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. And once I get everything drilled out, I could test everything to make sure it fit properly. So now everything is ready to go for the pedal board, so it's time for the final assembly. So the first thing I'm doing is cutting out the pedal carpet for the LED lamp and the toggle switch to go in, and the power harness, and I'm going to screw that in place, and then I just start plugging everything in. If you want to see how I got the rest of the pedal board up to this point, be sure and check out the other video on this pedal board. I go through all the steps I took to get the whole pedal board finished. So after I got the power harness completely installed, then I can move on to the audio jacks. And first I installed these chrome plates, and they just attached with small wood screws. And after the plates were installed, I can install the actual audio jack that just thread in from the back side of the plate. After this, the project was complete. I can go ahead and install my pedal power, which will just sit on the inside of the board. I can feed my cables up through and make sure everything is working, and that's it. The electronics for this board weren't near as difficult as I thought they would be. Although they were a little bit intimidating, West Coast made it really easy by providing all these electronics for this pedal board, so make sure you go check them out. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you want to see the full pedal board build that I did, you can check out this link right here. Also, all the parts that I used will be linked down below in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.